welcome. This is Ossont Battery, the first in-person edition of Ossont Battery. So welcome, everybody.
Ossont Battery, get it? Alright.
We were going to go with full frontal Ossont, but we thought that would have been a little too... I didn't want to promise too much, or too little. So anyway, welcome to the first in-person edition of Ossont Battery. I have the guys, this is a very special one. I've been wanting to get this band on for a while. This is Mourn The Light. So welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
I just wanted to... Why don't you guys introduce yourself?
Dwayne, Elderidge, and guitar and founder of Mourn The Light.
I'm Kyle. I play drums. Yeah, that's it.
All right. All right, so first I wanted to get started off with Dwayne. I know you're the one who started Mourn The Light. You're kind of the main guy, songwriter. How did it come to be? I know I first saw you singing in a band called Kill the Straggler, and then I saw that you had created another band. So how did that, what was the catalyst of that?
I was singing in Kill the Straggler for a while, and I had kind of taken a break from being a guitar player in bands for several years and being singers for bands, and I wanted to get back to playing the guitar again, and I wanted to do a project that had that I didn't compromise at all on what I wanted to play and how I wanted it to sound. So a close friend of mine at work, we had been talking about jamming and stuff, and it came together. And I went into it with the mindset of just, creating exactly what I wanted to create, and not having any kind of, box around or being boxed in by anything, just being able to just do whatever. I have so many different influences over the years, ranging from, hair metal to black metal and death metal and mellow death, and just so many different prog, lots of prog. And I just wanted to be able to express musically everything I wanted to, and get back to actually being a guitar player again, which is where I started, when I was a kid, was guitar,
And I was a huge fan of that first EP when it came out, Way to the World. Great one. But the sound has definitely evolved. Now, how did you always want the sound to evolve from that, or was it kind of more of a natural thing, or was it more of an intentional to start off kind of more a certain style and then evolve it, or did you?
Well, so the way it started was basically it had started as just as a trio, and in the demo I did all the vocals and the guitar, and then we had a bass player and a drummer, and so we were kind of limited by that, because if we were going to do stuff live, we wanted to sound like what we're doing. We don't want to go crazy and stuff, and then I decided that I wanted to play the guitar a little bit more freely and not be stuck on a microphone. So we decided before we actually released the EP to find a singer, and that's when we found Andrew, and he came in and did the vocals, and we started that. And that so that recording was already done as a trio, and with those kind of limitations. And then once Andrew joined, now some of that limitation had been lifted on my writing, because I could concentrate on playing a little bit however I wanted to, and not have to worry about doing the vocal thing and everything.
Awesome. And now that you first started off, there was a different lineup. How did the lineup evolve? Like, I know you had some different guys in the first release.
Yeah.
How did that? And I think, did you actually play the first show?
Yes.
I believe,
Yep.
if I don't remember correctly.
Correct.
You weren't officially a part of the band yet, but
100% correct. So Andrew and I, the singer, had previously played in a band called Age of Embers, and so we knew each other from then and had a pretty decent rapport. So when Greg Gates, the original drummer, said, "Hey, I'm not going to be available anymore," he moved down to North Carolina, and so they're in a pinch. They're like, "Okay, so what do we do?" So break glass, call Kyle, right? So I came in with about probably several weeks to learn the parts. So if you backtrack from when that EP first came out, I remember listening to it because I was like, "Oh, I know Andrew," and for some reason I thought, "Yeah, I could play that." I don't know why, But that was my thought at the time. And then a couple weeks later, I get that call. So it all kind of worked out.
That's awesome. It's funny how those things work out.
Yeah,
Now,
the first two guys were, co-workers of mine or whatever, and both of those guys have moved on to, they don't live in the area anymore or whatever, and it just worked out that, Andrew knew Kyle, and Kyle was still in the other band at the time, and pretty busy with that, so he couldn't join us at that time because he had the other commitment and everything like that, but then things just kind of all unraveled and worked out and everything lined up, and he ended up very shortly after that becoming a permanent member, which has worked out really good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you guys have a certain chemistry and have a certain drive, I can tell that, really helps drive the band forward. Now, moving from the first release onto the second, how did the second one, which is Death is Lurking?
So yeah,
that was a split, correct?
Yeah, we decided to do a split with some friends of ours, Oxblood Forge, and when we were doing it, when we recorded that, we were in the middle of more lineup stuff. We had a fill-in bass player at the time, a local friend of ours, Dan Jackson, from Casting Shadows.
Yep. Handsome band, yeah.
Great band.
So we had some new music written. We wanted to get it done. Dan was playing live shows with us and whatever, and we did a few songs, and then we were also doing a cover of Candlemass's "Bewitched," and we went to the studio and busted that out and did that split EP with them.
Little point there. We had Joey Conception play the guitar solo on the Candlemass cover, and now he's an arch enemy. So a little tidbit of cred there.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. We had a guest before I started kind of getting into my lead playing, which I never really did that much growing up. It was always that rhythm, and messed around with leads a little bit. Yeah, those were my guys, and before I started, starting to actually practice leads and incorporate leads into the stuff, we had actually had Mike Kerr also from Firstborn. He had done a guest on the Weight of the World EP as well. So basically, whenever I felt like we needed a guitar solo, but I wasn't exactly confident in my lead playing and stuff, it was like, all right, let's get some guys to help us out and stuff. But I'm getting much more confident with it now. With now this is 6, almost 7 years into Mourn the Light, where I've had much more time getting back into playing guitar, because like I said, I had taken a break for I think something like 8 years of barely even touching a guitar, because I was just singing for bands, and that was my focus. So
now, how did we get, you guys did that EP, you did some touring, how did you get some of your members that you have in now? For instance, Bill Herrick, as a bass player, I think was a great addition. I mean, he's phenomenal. I love a lot of his intros. How did he get in the band?
Bill was in a band called Feed the Beast, and I, as a local promoter and stuff, I had worked with their band a few times and knew about Bill's playing and everything, and at the time, Bill thought he was joining a doom band.
Yes,
that's kind of the sound we were giving off, in the beginning and stuff like that. And but he's the perfect bass player for Mourn the Light. It works out amazing. The guy puts the time and effort in, and he's a phenomenal bass player. And he literally, like, even though it's starting where I'm writing it, and it's my vision to start. What he brings in and completely transforms everything and makes it. I mean, he just takes it to the next level. It's insane how much his bass playing brings to this band.
Right, and there's actually a story about like how Dwayne and I were sitting in the recording studio when Bill was recording his parts for Suffer Then We're Gone. And there were several times we looked at each other and had no idea what song he was recording, because we're just like, this is...
Yeah, his bass playing is a song on its own, and it just, you can hear it on its own and not even recognize it match, and then when it's put together with what he's, with what we've done and stuff, it becomes this.
He's got a different kind of mind, I
guess.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed that with bass players, there's kind of some guys that just kind of follow the riff, and then there's guys that kind of, They add little things and have their own kind of style, and I always kind of like those bass players.
Oh,
those are my favorites,
Yeah.
And Bill definitely brings that, it's awesome. You guys
And
got
he
it.
has a lot of the same background as far as what he listens to and stuff. He
right.
came, he grew up listening to a lot of the traditional metal that I'm into and a lot of the, classic stuff, but he's also been really big into the doom scene and so he's got a lot of different influences that are very similar to ours, and it's just fit really well. And no matter what kind of song comes out of me, he's got something really great for it.
It's funny because he mentioned to me one time, my the first ever show I ever went to was a band called Tree. I'm sure you've heard of them from Boston. And I guess they actually opened a show for a band he played in when he was in high school or something like that, way back in the early 90s. Yeah. So I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. Now, moving on to the next album, Suffer Then We're Gone. It seems like the songwriting definitely took a kind of a leap. There's definitely a lot more parts. And I wanted to actually ask you this, Kyle, being, do you guys, the other members that aren't Dwayne, do you ever get hey, you ever going to stop adding the parts to this song? Do they just keep coming, or
So, yes, because, Dwayne, as you already mentioned...
I love him, so it's great for us, but...
Oh, 100%. So it takes a little bit of getting used to once you're deconstructing a Dwayne song. Because... Like he's already mentioned that he has all the different background. He likes prog, he likes black metal, he likes death metal, he likes power metal, he likes all of it, right? And then so you'll be listening to a song, trying to deconstruct it. Okay, so I'm playing this part, and then it's in 4/4 time. You're plugging along, and then there's this weird measure of 5/4 that comes out of nowhere, and then goes right back to 4/4. He's like, oh yeah, it makes it proggy, makes it interesting, and it's like, so. It's not a big deal, but it's enough to trip you up enough to where you actually have to stop, go back, and see how do I actually put together a part that works well with what he's coming at us with, and along.
As I'm writing, I do the drummer check.
Yeah.
I demo pretty much everything on my own, or get close to where I could demo it, but the only question is it going to be okay for Kyle?
Yeah.
Are the transitions going to work? Is this going to work? So now Kyle comes over with the electronic kit. I play him the stuff. We go over it and stuff, and just make sure that it's going to work all together cohesively and stuff like that. So it's basically the drummer check before I finish the demo.
The drummer check. Yeah, I really try to. I don't try to rein him in, but it's enough to where we're like, maybe this isn't quite working, and we need to reassess how we're going to do it. But I appreciate the collaboration there, and I really appreciate how unique all the songs are. It's not one song. It's not Bad Religion. It's not one song.
Yeah.
I love Bad Religion, don't get me wrong, but it's not the same song for 30 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I mean, I love AC/DC,
right.
But,
and that's fine if that works. But I love having all the different influences there. And the interesting feedback that we've gotten is that people can pick them all out. Well, I hear a little bit of Iron Maiden in there. I hear a little bit Life of Agony. I hear a little bit of Slayer, and it all comes there. It all all comes around.
It's great for a listener, because I'm sure as a musician, or even as a listener or a fan, it keeps me on my toes when I'm even playing air guitar. So I can only imagine actually playing it. You definitely got to stay on your toes, but I can also imagine how it keeps it fresh and more interesting than maybe just playing something pretty basic.
Yeah, I mean, I really like prog a lot and everything like that, but the kind of prog that I listen to is definitely the more song-oriented prog,
like Dream Theater.
There has to be the hook there, and that's where I started when I started listening to music too. Europe was one of my early. That was literally the first band that really set up, that took me into this realm of heavy music and stuff like that. And then, but almost everything I've listened to, there's got to be some kind of a catchy hook that grabs me. So as important as the guitar is, and as important as the cool changes and all that stuff, and keeping things interesting with the music, it's got to have that hook, and that's where I start with everything, is making sure that I have a hook first, something that's going to grab people, something that's going to draw you in and connect you to the song, and then I embellish and do the other stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
So it kind of starts off from a basic. It's gotta, like you said, it's gotta be catchy and it's gotta be listenable before we add the embellishments. That's a good way of doing it. Awesome.
For sure.
Awesome. Now, next thing I want to touch on is some of the lyrical themes. It definitely, Dwayne, you write most of the lyrics. I know Andrew's written a few and some songs and stuff as well. But it definitely seems like it's really based in like, how life sometimes can be pretty bad, but overcoming all those troubles and problems like that.
Yeah, I write, it's some of the, the real feel and all that stuff of life and everything like that, but try to stay positive, even though, I mean, everybody has things that can take you down a peg and make you feel, out and down and alone and whatever, and we all know how that feels, but there's also great things and stuff that we enjoy and things that we connect with, and it's about staying positive and trying to keep all that positivity and overcoming any of the other stuff that might get you down, and it just comes out in the music. Even if I'm not trying to, it just always comes out, and that's kind of where it's been. I'm not writing anything that's kind of fantasy or even really a story or anything like that. It's really just emotional. And I try to keep it emotional because hopefully that emotion connects with other people with those same feelings and emotions, and they get something out of the music and stuff.
Well, as a fan and as a listener, I definitely do. And one song I wanted to touch on, it's off the next EP you guys did, Stare Into the Face of Death, is Heavy Metal Destiny.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm a sucker for a heavy metal song about heavy metal and how great heavy metal is.
Yeah.
Because it is the best music in the world. We all know this. And that's one that I really love. So and I noticed with that EP, it seems to be a little more streamlined. It's not as proggy as the one before. Yeah, was that an intentional thing? Or?
Yeah, it's very traditional heavy metal.
Yeah.
Very Iron Maiden.
Yeah. So Heavy Metal Destiny was a song that I wanted to do. We haven't touched on an anthem yet.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to do an anthem, but I also wanted it to be a Mourn the Light song. And so it was that emotional connection that, man, shit's got you down, stuff sucks, things are really, this is, there's a lot of things you're dealing with and whatever and everything like that, but when you press play on that record player or CD player or cassette or whatever, or you get that guitar in your hand, or you're up on stage in front of a crowd and you're playing that music and stuff like that, all of that stuff goes away, and it doesn't matter in that moment.
Yeah.
You have something else that you can connect to, and heavy metal is that connection for me. It's always got me through anything that was tough, and probably always will, and so that's what it was. It's a heavy metal anthem, but don't worry, man, heavy metal's there for you.
I mean, nothing is like the feeling you get after going to a heavy metal show. A really good metal show. I mean, I've done numerous types of drugs when I was younger. You name it, I did it when I was younger, but nothing ever gave me that feeling, like some people, talk about church and having this epiphany. The closest thing I can explain to people is going to a heavy metal show, being with my friends and, fist pumping and, that's what it's all about, know, and I just love a song that expresses that, so thank you for writing it.
I've definitely said that myself. Like, the closest thing I've ever had to a religious experience is going to see a metal show where everyone's together, we're all with the music, we're all in time, and we're all having a good time. There's nothing like it.
Unless you're at a prog show, then nobody's in time. Trying to figure out when.
Trying to we saw Haken a few weeks ago, and it's just it's impossible to follow what these guys are doing. Everyone's we're trying. There's 3 prog nerds over here who are know everything, but the rest of us are what's going on here?
So, moving into the next release you guys did, now this is something that I really liked. It was a 4-way split, and what was the catalyst, or the reason for doing that? I'm assuming probably splitting the money between the 4 bands, or?
Well, so obviously that is a positive out of that.
Yeah.
It's 4 bands pushing the same product to their respective audiences, and so there's some crossover that happens with that, and the fact that we wanted, basically what started it was the fact that I have so much material that was written for the new album that we're currently working on, that it's way too much to put on an album. I mean, even after slicing those 2 songs off and doing that, I still have way more than what's probably going to fit on the album. So the idea was that let's venture into another split, and we'll get some bands. I threw a feeler out there on Facebook to some friends, and honestly, the 3 bands couldn't have been a better fit. It just worked out really good. And everybody worked together really well, and we all shared the financial responsibility of it and communicated and on how everything was going to be put together, and then we all pushed the product, and it was a way for us to get out a couple of new songs and not be too long between releases while we're still continuing the molding and shaping the new release, which will be the next full length. And it just worked out really good. I really couldn't be any happier with that. We Are the Light is the single that we did off of it, and it's it's quite different but I think as you know, each release is kind of quite different from the other release, and this one really went back to the roots of my listening and stuff, and really is that catchy hook. It was not only the vocal hook, but the catchy guitar hook, that dual lead melody, and then the catchy chorus, get everybody singing along, and I think it worked out pretty good. So
there was a great, like I said, I love the idea of a split because it exposes people to different bands, and I love always being exposed to like a new band that I can spend a lot of money on later that I can't afford to. But that's what I love about metal, is hearing these new bands and then being able to support them, because if we don't support the bands and each other, then it ain't gonna survive, And Ice Howl, I've been a fan of them. I know you sang on a track of theirs.
That was our connection and stuff. Jason and I have been friends on Facebook for a while, and follow a lot of the same stuff.
He was on Ossont Battery.
I watched that recently, and then and so I ended up singing on a song of his on one of his releases, and then when I put the feeler out, he might have been the very first person that actually said, hey, because he had just gotten a full live band together, and this whole new thing with Ice Howl, and I think they were kind of in the same thing. They had some stuff, they were testing the waters, and they wanted to get something out, and this was a way that we could do it inexpensively, so the one band wasn't taking on the financial burden of everything. So it worked out good. And then Archdruid, our local-ish guys here in New England and stuff, and they had reached out, and they also seem to have an abundance of material all the time. They're always releasing some new stuff, which is really cool. And then High Priest, Tyler, who's also in Gatekeeper, and, now just recently announced he's going to be the singer for Onward, which is a band I was listening to 20 years ago.
Seriously, that's awesome.
It's cool.
Congrats, Tyler.
He has a doom band, a project. It's I think it's him and just one other guy actually, and they do everything themselves. They had some new stuff. They hadn't released anything at that point. I think maybe one of the songs they had released a demo of, and then this was a way to get that out. And it just worked out really good for everybody, I think. So.
Like I said, what's great is all bands kind of have a similar sound, but they don't sound the same. But they have a cohesiveness that kind of binds them together.
There's doomy roots to all of the bands, but they're all definitely more of the traditional sense. And so that works out good, but they all have a very different distinctive sound, even though they all come from that same kind of school or whatever.
All right, so you guys released that 4 split EP with the 4 bands. Now that was the last you've released. What are you doing next? I know you guys got a really big festival you're playing next weekend. I think it'll this interview, I think, will be out the Monday after that, but that's Legions of Metal,
Legions
right?
of Metal in Chicago. Yep, really great festival. I think it's the 6th installment of that.
And so many of our friends are going to be playing this festival too. You have Greyhawk, you have, help me out, Dwayne.
Ice Owl.
Ice Owl.
Yeah. There's a lot of really good bands on it. It's top to bottom. It's really great fest both days. We're going to get into the city so that we can catch both days of it.
Yeah,
awesome.
And enjoy the whole thing. On the way up, we plan on hitting a show in Ohio with some friends that are traveling out there as also
Perennial Quest. Yeah, they're going to be playing the
England.
fest too. Yeah.
So, and it'd be nice to see Tundra too, because I've met Nick from Tundra down at Hell's Heroes in Texas. I'm looking forward to his stuff. So it'd be a fun thing to warm up to, and then hit Legions for a couple of days and then come back home.
Now, after Legions, do you have any more touring going on, or any local shows you have planned? Or?
We don't have any touring or anything going on, but we do have some other areas that we don't hit that often or ever at all. We're going to play a show with some friends from Pennsylvania, Almost Honest. We're going to do that up in New Hampshire.
Nashua, New Hampshire.
Oh, nice.
With Dead Harrison also.
Okay.
And then we also are playing, Perennial Quest is having a farewell show for their current lead singer, their original lead singer, Tony.
DoNisi.
And at the Middle East in Cambridge. So we're going to be playing that in July.
I think it's July 19th.
Yeah, and so that's what we have on the books right now. Some other stuff in the works, but nothing that we can announce or talk about or whatever, because it's not solidified. And most of what we're doing right now is working on getting this full length done. Basically, all of the guitars and all of the drums have been recorded and finished, but we're still working on bass, keys, vocals, and stuff like that. And then obviously the mixing and mastering that will happen after that, and whatever else. So we don't really have a timetable as far as when that's going to end up coming to fruition, but that's what we're spending basically all of our time on right now, just getting that. And then once that's done, things will probably start happening really fast again, and we'll have a lot to talk about,
Okay, all right. Now, I got a new segment here on Ossont Battery that I wanted to debut, where I kind of put people on the spot, and sometimes they're not even metal-related questions, sometimes they are. But first thing I'm going to ask, now, I think I already know the answer that you're going to have for this question, but I don't know your answer.
Okay, fair.
Favorite Black Sabbath singer? Oof. I know what you're going to say, I believe.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say, too.
Tony Martin!
Yeah. I am staunchly on the Ronnie James Dio at the top, followed very, very closely by Tony Martin.
See, I'm the same way. I love Dio, but
I'm a fan of all the singers, so it's not because I don't like any of them or anything like that. But if I'm going to go listen to Black Sabbath, if I'm going to say, I'm going to listen to Black Sabbath today, and I go to the rack to grab the record or whatever, it's most likely going to be a Tony Martin album or a Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those. I like Ozzy, but I actually prefer Ozzy's solo stuff to what he did in Black Sabbath.
Right.
And as far as the Black Sabbath's concerned, I absolutely love Tony Martin's voice, and Dio's a legend. Everything, Rainbow, everything.
Yeah.
So
I actually found out I'm sort of related to Dio. You have to have a very loose definition of related.
I'm human.
Yeah. We're from New England.
My mom's cousin's ex-wife is his cousin.
Wow.
So she showed me a bunch of pictures of him from family reunions and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool.
Well, I know he was born here in Connecticut.
No, he's actually born in New York.
New York? Okay.
Portland, New York.
All right. But okay, fair enough. I'm wrong.
So next question: 80s Kiss or 90s Aerosmith?
Neither?
You have to pick one.
No, I refuse.
I like both. Let's see. 90s Aerosmith. Let's see. What year was it? Pump
was
90, right?
Pump was
89.
What was it?
Pump was 89.
All right. So we're going 90. So we're talking Get a Grip and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember when Jaded came out and my heart sank.
Yeah.
You know, like I was like, what the fuck is this?
If we could switch it up to 80s Kiss, or I mean, if we could switch it up to 80s
Aerosmith, 90s Kiss?
90s Kiss, I will take that, because Revenge was really good.
I'm going with 80s Kiss myself, just because, Kiss has never had integrity, so, I love the cheesy stuff.
I do too.
Anytime a Kiss song comes on, I turn it off. So
you're anti-Kiss.
I do.
Okay,
no,
you're anti.
I am.
You know what we're covering next?
Oh yes.
Sorry, Kyle.
Just to
Lick it up.
Making me something off Hot in the Shade, just to. So next one, this is a non-metal question: lasagna or spaghetti and meatballs?
They're both excellent.
I guess I'd have to go spaghetti. I've never been.
What about spaghetti and meatballs on top of
lasagna?
Oh,
It's just carb after carb after carb. Yeah.
That's actually a good one.
You could do that. It's just a carb casserole.
Yeah.
All right.
And yes, and sausage is acceptable in both dishes as well.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Fair.
Now,
Spicy Italian.
Spicy Italian. Yeah. It's gonna kill you one of these days.
90s Megadeth or 90s Metallica?
Oh, 90s.
I mean, when did Risk come out? 99 or 2000?
That came out in the 90s. Yeah.
But it's the only speed bump though.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So Risk was actually my introduction to Megadeth. Ooh. So when I heard that, I was like, why do people listen to this? And I wrote them off for 20 years.
And then you heard you heard Rust in Peace and was like,
yeah,
oh!
yeah. I was like, what? That's
Rust in Peace is technically 1990, right?
Yep.
So, and that's literally probably the best thrash album of all time.
I think so.
All right.
So, I mean, we'll give it to Megadeth.
Yeah, I
definitely alone.
Yeah.
Because Injustice for All was 89.
Yeah,
right.
True. Black Album was like what 90, 91, somewhere in there.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Which wasn't a horrible album. It's still enjoyable,
really not bad.
but it was a letdown. Being a fan of the
at the time. If you were growing up with Metallica in the 80s, once you hit Black Album, you were probably like, what's going on?
See, that was my first Metallica, the Black Album for me. And I just find it amazing that Lars Ulrich has two of possibly some of the best sounding drums on the Black Album.
Yeah.
Say what you want, but the drums sound awesome on the Black Album.
Yeah.
And then you have, Saint Anger, which...
I'm actually a fan of the drum sound on Injustice for All, which a lot of people...
I'll take that over the Saint Anger, where you're like, what is going on?
I love that kick drum punch and everything, just the way that sounds. It just had the right sound. Even without the bass in the mix, it just... The aggression of the vocals and the guitars and stuff just got that point across, and it just... It didn't need all that bass, honestly. I'm a big fan of bass-heavy music, so I'm not knocking it all, but just Injustice for All just happened to work for me, at least at my age when it came out and I was into it. It had aggression, and that sound just connected with me big time. I absolutely loved that album when it came out, And then for me, I remember when Load came out, I remember they did the first single as well, Until It Sleeps or whatever. When that came on, I actually was like, oh wow, that actually sounds more melodic, and it's a little bit more like what Megadeth was doing at the time.
Yeah.
Megadeth was trying to be that radio band or get whatever, but they were still Megadeth. You still had that melody and everything that was going in there. So I was really excited, and then I was let down by the rest of the album.
Yeah, that was...
And whatever. But around that time was actually the first time I went and saw Metallica live, which was a really good experience.
There was a YouTuber with Hot in the Shadows. He does reviews he does bombed albums, and then he also does one-hit wonders.
Yeah.
And he compared the snare sound on Saint Anger to Jar Jar Binks. Where he said if you took it
around the
away,
same time.
I think if you took it away, it wouldn't make it good, but it's always there making it worse. And I was like, you know what? That's a pretty good. That's an apt comparison.
Yeah. Good on you, Tom.
So that about wraps it up for Ossont Battery. I just wanted.
I got a question for you.
Okay, go right ahead.
What's your favorite Mourn the Light song of all time? On the spot.
On the spot.
He had to start that segment, so I got
that's tough.
to get you involved.
It's probably either Heavy Metal Destiny. Yeah, I'd probably have to go with Heavy Metal Destiny.
Awesome. So we've never played that live, so that's something we've been talking about.
I've been refreshing it lately,
Okay.
so I think it is going to end up sneaking into our live set.
Awesome.
I would
eventually.
I'd like to play that one day.
Yeah, that is, like I said, it's got that anthemic feel, and for
Right.
me, I'm a sucker for heavy metal songs about heavy metal. I was listening to Riot earlier today with Metal Soldiers, and any song, heavy metal song about heavy metal, I'm a sucker for. So
Right, it's a great band. We finally got to see them live a couple years ago, 2 years ago, down in Texas.
yeah, I gotta order that new record they got.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Mark Reale. I think he's an underrated guitar player. I hear some of his playing in some of your stuff. So
Yeah, definitely listen to my share of Riot. That's for sure.
Awesome. But like I said, that about wraps it up today for Ossont Battery. It was great to have Dwayne, Kyle from Mourn The Light. Well, thanks for coming on. My first in person at the Ossont Battery Bar. And that's been Ossont Battery for the Flamekeeper Network. Stay metal, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
For 45 years and keeping Louisville weird, Electric Ladyland has been there for all your eccentricities. While they do offer the best smoking supplies out on the market today, there's a whole lot more to check out. From ashtrays and blacklight posters, to records, incense and burners, and items to stock your metaphysical supply. They're open from 10 to 10, 7 days a week. Located at 2325 Bardstown Road in Louisville, Kentucky, and at electricladyland420.com. Roll out.